Welcome to Well Body. I'm Renee, your host, and this is the podcast for everything your body needs as a woman to become healthier and fitter effortlessly. Here, we're all about feeling energized, beautiful, strong, and going from zero to thriving. Let's ditch the Fitspo diet culture once and for all and start living your best life with methods that actually make real lasting changes. It's time to embrace the journey to a well body holistically. Let's dive in together. Welcome back to the Well Body podcast. I have a very special guest on my podcast today who is actually a client of mine. Her name is Ronnie, and we are going to actually talk about her journey, which has been a massive, wild ride of a roller coaster, that's for sure. And she's been working with me now for a good year. We've been personal training together, and I've seen so much in her journey and what she's been through. And I think her story has a lot to give in terms of empowering other people with their own health journeys, because it's amazing how getting back on track with your exercise, getting back on track with just moving your body and figuring out how to move your body again can really help you when you've been through so much. Now, Ronnie has always been a really active person. She was into biking and hiking and traveling the world and surfing, and when she was diagnosed with this invisible illness, which we're going to talk about shortly, that kind of all came to a crashing halt. And so getting back on track with movement again has actually enabled her to get her life back, because I've seen this firsthand. We've gone from bedridden attacks to actually being able to surf again and enjoy life, and that's been so cool. So welcome to the show, Ronnie. Thank you so much for being here in my little cozy room.
Thanks for having me.
And I think it'd be so only natural that we start the podcast talking about what the condition is that you live with day to day. Now, it's short, what it's actually called, I'll let Ronnie say it because I couldn't really pronounce the first word, but short for TN. So please tell us and our listeners, what is TN?
So, hi everyone, I am Veronica, or Ronnie. The condition that I was diagnosed with in 2021 is called Trigeminal Neuralgia. It's medically recognised as one of the most excruciating pains known to mankind. So it is a chronic pain, but also comes in waves and flares of intensity. And yeah, I've been managing that since 2021, and it came on all of a sudden with not much warning at all.
Yeah. And so where were you in life when this hit you? Like what were you doing? Where were you? And what happened?
I was thriving. So it was confusing when it hit, but I think I was thriving in a way that now when I look back, was actually quite a lot of stress and load on my body, and I didn't realise that because I was so passionate about my career that I just loved every day and just didn't feel that I was burning out before I was, because mentally I felt happy, but my body was not quite catching up or having the rest it needed. So I was pushing a lot harder than I realised.
And were you in New Zealand when it hit you, or you were overseas, weren't you?
I was just in New Zealand, just back.
Right, just back. So you'd been working overseas, and tell us what industry you were in and what you loved so much and things you were doing before TN.
Yeah, well, this is where I get a little bit emotional sometimes.
And that's okay.
Yeah. I worked in urban design, so I was doing like city-wide strategy. I really focused on well-being from a sense of community and building a sense of place and belonging. It really was about like a public health point of view from how we develop our cities.
Totally. And from what you've told me, from things that you've been involved in, it just sounds like you had the coolest job, like urban design. And so going through, discovering that you have TN and having to leave that, how was that for you?
That has been by far the biggest grieving process for me, and there has been so many layers of grieving, and I come in and out of waves of acceptance of it. But also I have got to a point where I've started to see more opportunities opening up, and
amazing. So
we can talk about it. I've tried to talk about this journey with anyone openly. I haven't been able to for almost 4 years.
Yeah, it's such a long time to be living with this invisible illness. And for those of you who don't know what this is, Tell us a little bit about how it affects your everyday life and why you've had to give up the career that you love, and how has it impacted your life?
Yeah. Oh, we jumped to that, didn't we?
Well, I think it's good to establish, where you've been and now, so how is it impacting your life?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's so life-altering in the fact that at the beginning, I had both types of TN, which is there's TN1 and TN2, and TN1 is a atypical chronic daily level of pain, and TN2 is the classic attack of trigeminal neuralgia attack. I kind of hate that word, but it is what it feels like when it happens. It's just so excruciating and paralyzing, and then following an attack, I personally am debilitated, and the majority of people in this illness, you're debilitated by not only the pain but the medication that stops the pain, because the only medication that can stop it is that anti-epileptic medication, which slows down your entire brain and your neurotransmission, and so that in turn slows down everything, your motor balance, your memory recall, my ability to speak clearly. I couldn't have a train of thought without made any sense. I couldn't walk on my own, clean myself, feed myself for many months. So and then for that first 18 months it was chronic daily pain. So that was bedridden, entirely bedridden, couch to bed for 18 months, and that
that's massive, because you had gone from this active lifestyle, living and breathing, everything you loved about life. And tell us a little bit more about that, so we just get a bit of a background of how active and how your life was before the TN hit.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think in my mid-20s was the real turning point for activity for me.
Yeah.
I wasn't very active in my teen years. I had very large breasts and had a breast reduction at the end of my teens, so 19, and that was a game changer. I'll never forget the bounce and energy I had once I had that reduction, but I didn't know an outlet to sports. I'd never done it. And I had tried soccer and failed very badly. Very uncoordinated.
Hey, you gave it a go.
I gave it a shot. And then, in my mid-20s, early 20s, I started trying surfing and hiking. I lived in Dunedin, so I had amazing backpacking opportunities.
So lucky.
And got really, really into surf. And then when I moved overseas to the States in my late 20s, there was no ocean nearby. It was 8 hours away, so I was landlocked in the mountains.
Beautiful.
And that's what got me into downhill skateboarding.
Yeah.
But I think all of the sports I've ever got into, because this was followed by bike packing as well.
So interesting.
It's always been to do with being in spaces that women have been told they're not so capable of, or just feel intimidated by, or disempowered in, and that was really, really my passion.
I love that.
So that's what I spent all my free time in.
Doing and amazing. And then so when TN really hit and you were bedridden for 18 months, there was no moving. The only moving you were doing was from the bed to the couch. And when was that pivotal point for you when you could actually start doing more than just lying on the couch? What was that? What happened there?
The motivation was my partner had to move overseas for work, and I wanted to visit him. Yeah. And we'd been apart 6 months, so it was a pretty good motivation, pretty good goal to get me moving. But it was incredibly tough, incredibly tough, assignment to get off the meds enough to be able to move without dizziness or falling over. It was really, really significant to make the first few steps. And I just found something that felt gentle and gave me joy, and to keep myself sane during this time, I'd actually joined the community garden and was on the committee of that.
Cool.
Mostly doing photography and Facebook and writing the newsletters for the courier, and but it kept me connected to a sense of purpose and community, and gardening, you know, getting my hands in the dirt really felt just like such loving movement. Beautiful. So I thought the first step would be yard work, so I just put the word out, and friends and local people hired me for some, you know, trees and landscaping. And
amazing. And so that was like your first form of getting back into moving your body again, was first of all you're connecting to nature, which is such a beautiful massive therapy in itself, and then the movement around the yard, which got your body moving again. And it was slow. It was slow but at your own strong. Pace. Beautiful. And you found that after doing that, that kind of helped with your energy somewhat, so you could get on a plane and go and stay with your partner. It started to help me build up my stamina again and my body's resilience. So just giving that, what we now do, giving it that little bit of irritation and finding the boundary of toleration, and then resting, and then pushing that a little bit again. And that was what I was figuring out in that time. And I got quite far in terms of just being able to get on a plane and go to Sydney for, you know, what was only meant to be 11 days and turned up to be 6 months. I love that about you. That's so awesome. But that's incredible, right? You know, you'd gone from being bedridden to chronic pain every single day, to the couch, to bed, to couch, to getting outside in nature and just gently, slowly moving your body as it felt right, which helped you to then get on a plane, go to Sydney. And how was life in Sydney for you, having to live with Tien? What got you through day-to-day life? I mean, it wasn't great, to be honest. I was just so filled with joy to be in a bustling city. And I was just so inspired every day that it did help me, you know, get over the mental challenge of the pain levels. And I think what I maybe haven't covered quite about what Tien is like what the type of pain is. And you know, for those first 18 months especially, that chronic pain is like a constant electric shock kind of going through your face, and it's exactly half your face. Mine is my left, and it comes from just behind your ear and goes through your jaw, your teeth, your lips, up towards your eye, your cheeks. For me, my teeth and my lips are the first sign, and anything could trigger it in those early stages. The wind, brushing my teeth, any touch, putting makeup on was not an option. Caffeine was not an option. And it was so closely tied with my exertion. So this is why this was such a long journey. And I think, you know, looking back now, I was told by GPs to rest entirely. And I don't think maybe that was the right thing, because it really took a bit of a dig at my resilience, my body's resilience, my mind, my spirit. I felt like my resilience really took a bit of a plummet.
Absolutely.
And the other side of the pain, obviously, when it's the attacks, are just like the level of excruciating is out of this world. Like I am paralyzed. I'm either on the ground or I'm just like writhing around like an animal for like 20 seconds on, and then it just completely goes away for 10 seconds and then comes straight back. And it can go for 2 minutes to 45 minutes to 2 hours of it. And you'd never know what it's going to be.
No.
So managing the fear of it happening was a massive part of my recovery.
100%.
And I feel the exertion was the biggest thing to really learn. Like, it's not just, I think we take for granted when we're so able-bodied that you can do all these things in your normal daily life, that once it's taken away from you with a chronic illness, you don't realize that those normal things we do take a lot of energy.
Absolutely. And so people are burning themselves out day to day, just literally, I don't know, let's say you're a stay-at-home mum, for example, just doing daily house admin.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Or like, for you right now, your admin is going to all your different appointments to stay on top of your health. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's, and I think we take for granted, like, actually how hard we work as humans just in our lives,
Yes.
let alone our careers and our jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's probably a massive realization. I've personally have just been a witness to yourself and a whole lot of other people and seeing what they've been going through with their health and with their illnesses, and it's made me take a massive step back too and go, I need to chill the fuck out, you know? But you know, it's incredible where you're at now, and it's obviously been such a massive journey to get there. When we first started working together though, there was a time where you had a massive TN attack.
Yes.
And so before we started working together, we had a chat on the phone talking about how you wanted to get back into movement, and we started getting back into movement. How did you feel when you first started getting back into movement before you had that first TN attack working with me?
Wow, I mean, it feels like a blur because it was between 2 TN attacks. So I'd had one
medication, 2 attacks,
and then I reached out to you, and then I had another one within that month.
It was, a couple of weeks into starting.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, that was devastating.
Yeah.
That was so devastating. And, I mean, I remember the sessions, like they are a blur, but I also remember just being like, wow, I can do something without it having to be big.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's having a big impact.
Yeah.
Like I remember when we first started doing bent over rows, and I was like, whoa, this is working my muscles.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I'm like overdoing it. I'm not overexerting myself in ways that, like, you know, I'm mentally using myself. I'm like using all of my different energies and running myself to the ground like I would maybe on a mountain bike ride or something. Yeah. But yeah, I just remember being like, oh wow, I finally believe in pacing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I just didn't know that before.
And I think as well with exercise, I think typically we feel as though that every session you do, you have to be smashing yourself, you have to be dripping with sweat, you have to be doing 50 burpees at the end of every session, or you didn't even train, you know, like there's this real mindset around absolutely smashing yourself in every single session. Yeah. When that's just not the case. Yeah. You know?
And that was never our motivation from the get-go.
No way.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, which is awesome for you as the client, right? Receiving something that is actually going to help you build that confidence in your body and build that stamina again. But then we started, and then 3 weeks, I think it was 3 weeks into when we started, and then you said, I've had an attack and I don't know when I'll be back type thing. Yeah. And I remember you coming back and saying that your mental health was at an all-time low, and that was a really low point for you. Yeah. What was it about the TN and the mental health and that affecting your life in that moment? Yeah.
Look, we should have got the tissues out.
Really I know.
Yeah, I think, and, you know, trigger warning for those listening, you know, I will openly talk about thoughts of suicide, so maybe put a pause on it if that's a bit upsetting. Yeah. But yeah, I think, you know, for context between the time in Sydney in 2022 and then I started with you in mid-2023, I had been slowly building myself back into self-employment. Yeah. And you know, photography has always been a side passion of mine. It was my fine arts degree, was my first ever thing, my bachelor, you know, and I loved it, and I was finally giving it full time, and I was so excited, and I'd managed to get much lower on my medications. I was starting to feel cognitively clearer, a bit more clear, and I was starting to do a lot more in my daily life, but I had not yet added movement into my plate. Yeah. And I didn't realize how much I was pushing myself without that physical stamina. So when June had rolled around and I'd had the attack that I had before I spoke to you, that happened when I was right in the middle of like fully investing in my self-employment. Yeah. So that had quite a big impact on me. I hadn't had an attack since 2021, like the very first attacks. So I had only dealt with the chronic side of it for that, 2 years, 2.5 years by then. So to have an actual attack again, like the severity of that at that point was so shocking and so devastating. Yeah. And just, it felt like someone had ripped the rug from under my feet, and you know, that just stole so much of my hope. Oh, that's where I get teary. Yeah, and so to, you know, when I called you, I was in a place that I had been to a surf event, a women's surf event. I don't know if I've told you this.
No, I don't think you have.
Because I just wanted to stay connected to the community of women. Like, I'm still out there photographing them. I'm still involved in, you know, community work and empowerment. And I just wasn't doing it. I wasn't doing the skating or the surfing myself. But I went to an event and I just realized just how much joy I was craving with surfing, especially, and how I missed it so dearly, and it just felt so far away. And I don't quite know how to explain the sense of like full body craving for something you love and missed, and it was like grief mixed with some sort of inspiration. And I called you, and I remember when you asked me what my goal was, and I just said, all I care about is being able to say yes to the things that I love again.
That was biking, surfing, and skating again.
That's it. And that was my goal, and I've never worked out with a goal like that.
No.
It's always been sort of, I don't know, like a marathon or a camping trip I'm going on, or you know, it was never like, I don't even know what to call this goal, a feeling goal. Yeah,
I guess like traditionally, right, people get into an exercise regime for a specific goal or an event. So they might do a 6-week, 8-week, 20-week block to build up to something. Whereas your goal now is just about living your life, right? And being able to say yes to your friends call you and say, hey, we're going for a surf, do you want to join us? Hell yeah, I can do it because I'm strong enough to go, and I've got the energy to be able to do that. And so the goal becomes more about longevity and lifestyle and health, right?
Absolutely.
And that's it, what it's been for you.
Yeah. So I think, I felt a different sense of motivation that I've ever felt.
Beautiful.
And again, I think important context is the level of uncertainty my life was in. You know, I hadn't been able to work since this all started. So I was 2.5 years in. I had trialed some work in Sydney, didn't work so well with my pain and my medications. When I had to change the medication levels, my cognitive abilities would totally plummet. So it didn't work with an office job. So the level of uncertainty was the key thing I was struggling with in life. There was just no predictability to have a training plan like that, because I could one day be able to do a great session and another day be able to do only like a quarter of what I can do. But when I was trying to do that on my own or with a more traditional personal trainer that I'd tried for about 8 weeks, they just didn't get it, and they weren't able to move and flex with my needs. And I felt like in that traditional space I was seen as being like lazy or giving up too easily, because the motivation I needed wasn't a conventional one. But so uncertainty was a constant for me. And when August rolled around last year with the first attack since working with you, that was so severe because of the fact that I'd already felt like that the rug had been pulled out from under me. My hope was diminishing already, so a second one to happen so soon after, and you know, the recovery, well, I say that with quotations because it's not real recovery, but the ability to stop the pain attack is a 4 to 6 week window of being back on really high medication that completely debilitates me again.
That's right,
So the same level of debilitation as the first 18 months. So again, like, my friends have had to shower me, feed me, like, it is incredible the kind of community care I have had, and I've never, like, the level of love I've now witnessed is just like so humbling. But it was a strange experience to sort of have your friends having to kind of roster in nursing me and not leaving me alone, because at that point a second attack was just so soul breaking for me, when I had felt like I was finally getting so close to being out of it in early 2023. And but I think the main difference from then to now, since these 2 severe attacks in 2023, was that I have now sort of like mentally pulled up a chair for it at the table in my brain to be like, okay, I'm not going to deny that you're there, and I have to act like I have to recover from TN as, because it is a progressive, permanent condition. Yeah. And, you know, the doctors had to remind me of that, and that is a heartbreaking truth. But if I don't accept it and surrender to that, I was always going to be pushing against it. Yeah. And
such a beautiful mindset shift.
Yeah, just, you know, to some people it feels somewhat like, well, and not to some people, to myself as well, it felt like if I accepted it, it meant that it was like my identity. Yeah. And I just couldn't bear the thought of it being my identity. Yeah. My identifier, because it was so opposite to what I thought of myself as, you know, a vibrant and ambitious person, and I hadn't been those feelings for quite some time by that point. And to have started feeling those little things, and then have it taken away. But even that, like, notice my language, like, it's very like, it's like it's something that steals from you, but it isn't. It is within me. It is part of me.
And you have to learn, I guess, to live your life still knowing that there's this invisible illness there that may trigger at some point, but you have the tools and the knowledge of how to cope, right, and to get through. And you've got your community and your support system. And I mean, the last attack was last August, right? And now we're in, well, that's nearly over a year ago. Yeah. So what's changed?
Well, it's like just been the sort of anniversary of that period, and I've been really proud of myself.
Yeah, I bet.
I think it was certainly, like I said, I was in a place that I didn't see, I had no desire to want to live this life anymore. Yeah. And that is heartbreaking, because, you know, I've known life as such a vibrant thing, and, you know, I know what it feels like to be full of vitality, and community is everything to me, connection. And to feel like I really felt, like I said to a psychologist, my psychologist that I dearly appreciate, I said to her one day, it feels like I'm in a waiting room, just a waiting room of life. Like I don't want to live this life, but I love who I am, and it's so confusing to sit there and wait for a reason to keep going. Yeah. And I so distinctly remember days driving to our sessions and thinking that thought, like, I have no idea why I'm doing this. I don't think I'm going anywhere in life anymore, but I'm just gonna go. Yeah. I'm just gonna go. And thank God I did.
I know, because you've come so far, and like, I just remember when you came back to training after you'd had your attack, and your mum had to drive you for a couple of weeks until your medication you'd been fully off the medication, and just like, you know, the energy was not there, but you still came, and there was obviously something inside of you going, no, this is your right, you need to be doing this, because this is what's going to help you, this is what's going to help you get through in life, like we need you to move your body, this is like your body telling you this intuitively, and you just listen to something because you kept showing up, and then things got better and you got more energized, and come summertime you were surfing again.
I know,
which is so epic,
and it was quite fast for what I thought it was going to be, you know, and that's because I wasn't focused on it. No. I wasn't focused on the surf. I was just focused on getting my mental health back on track. Yeah. And even that I didn't have pressure on. No. You know, I think a really important, like, pivotal moment was probably in like late September or October, I just decided that I wanted to love my life more than I hated my pain.
I love that so much.
And yeah, and I think that is acceptance in and of itself. You know, it's like, this is just it's here.
Absolutely.
And if I fight it, it just keeps me focused on fighting, and I just couldn't deal with that anymore. And you know, a significant like light bulb moment, I think, was that I hadn't realized just how depressed I had become. Because I'm so focused on just a bright future. I do believe that I will have a bright future. It's kind of a really hard thing to break out of me. But these were those moments when I had, and I think this is something I hadn't really realized through it, was that I had to just get through those first few years, I'd neutralized my life. Like, everything had just become about prevention and management. And that meant I just didn't realize how depressed I had actually become, because I was just like functioning at a neutral preventative space. And that didn't mean, it wasn't obvious depression, because I wasn't like super low, but then I was, because I was having to live in a place I didn't really love either. You know, I'm really disconnected from my closest friends and too far away from them, but I was there because my family was there to nurse me. And so there was like lots of bright sides, but also it just felt like my choices in life had been taken, and it was just all neutral, and just very neutral.
And that's not, you don't wake up in the morning jumping out of joy for neutral, right?
No.
And so you know, and I guess if you're only trying to manage the condition and pain and just getting through day to day, like, you lose that sense of purpose. But I keep hearing the words surrender and just acceptance, and I feel like that is such a beautiful, powerful thing you've done on this journey, because that has helped you to kind of just let go a little bit. And just whatever happens, and my journey is my journey, and I'm just not putting any pressure on having to be at a certain place at a certain time. It's just, I'm going with it, and things will start to unfold for me. You've like taken the pressure off the need to have to be, you know, 100% by next week. You know?
I think that period of losing my will to live was very much based on so much grief. Like layers and layers and layers of grief. And I think I remember trying to explain it to my father, who was one of my primary carers by that point, that it felt like I was grieving multiple versions of myself.
Totally.
Just all of the opportunities and the potential me's that I had either held on to from my previous career, or even just like newly formed ones. And that's where the loss of hope kind of came in. It was like, I just couldn't envision any future me's anymore.
That's hard.
So I think on surrender, it comes because I think up until that point, I thought I had accepted things, but I think any actions I was taking to move forward, especially around work and career, were still based off a feeling of someone else prescribing me a life, prescribing how I take my medication, how much movement I can make, whether it was like an actual GP or it was like this illness prescribing me rest, or it just felt like it wasn't my choice anymore. So the surrender came from the feeling when it was so clear that I actually couldn't control anything. And that was okay if I just wanted to live. I don't know how to better put that. It's quite complex in the experience of grief and hope, because I found hope again from that, you know, learning to love my life more than I hated my pain, and just focusing on being like so present and just seeing life again.
Yeah.
Going for walks in the Riverhead Forest and seeing like the leaves glow, and you know, the way the light hit the rain on the leaves, or just smelling the smells of the soil and the pine needles and things like that helped me realize that work wasn't everything. And because of this financial loss I've suffered from this, you know, when you haven't worked for 3 years, I've lost my life savings, I've, you know, lost the exec level positions I was going for, the multiple cities I was meant to have lived in by now. You know, there were so many things like that I just thought I could find another way towards the same things. Didn't want to let them go. And the surrender came to just realizing that holding on and clinging to those things wasn't helping, because it was just ending me up in same spaces of losing hope. And I think just when it got to that point of desperation, it was like my slate was cleaned. And I could see this like empty, I know this is a strange analogy, but like I could see this like empty plate that I could make whatever feast I wanted to make on it. And I could only, you know, I've learned by pacing myself over the years that you just add one more thing onto your plate at a time, and you know, see how that feels and that tastes, and like what it nourishes me, or if it just makes me feel like crap after, and just doing one thing at a time. And those things might have been different medications at the beginning, it could be acupuncture later. I tried all sorts of different alternative therapies as well as hospital therapies, but I think surrender definitely came from the extremity of when you lose hope and you go, well, I want to live, so what can I do to make this livable?
Absolutely. And you know, you've been working so hard on your health holistically, and when I say holistically, I don't mean just woo-woo, I mean holistically as in you've been going to a psychologist, you've been psychologist, you've been coming to me for PT 3 times a week, you've been focusing on, like, you know, nourishing your body with food, you've been getting out into nature a lot as much as you can, you've also been massage, osteo, like all these things that have really helped you to become a healthier version of yourself, right? So that you can live life without letting that pain control your everyday thoughts, feelings, actions. And I also feel like as well, just like seeing your journey, that a lot's changed in terms of your mindset as well, which has been so beautiful to see. And I feel like it's been pivotal. How do you say that word? Pivotal. It's been pivotal because, you know, you've got your camera back out again, and we've even had some photography sessions together, which has been so cool. Massive. And you know, like, you've started posting on socials with your creating your artwork, and so like little things are really starting to unfold for you in the most beautiful way, and it's just so cool to witness and see and be a part of, and you should be so proud of yourself.
Thank you. It is quite phenomenal how much has changed in this 1 year. Like, truly phenomenal.
And I mean, like, to throw a spanner in the works, you're then diagnosed with endometriosis. I mean, what the fuck? So we go from TN to then also having to manage that, and then the pain of the period for like 7 days every cycle. And surgery in between, which was like quite a long recovery, which was not expected. But I think that is like, I mean, I'm still processing what it actually means to have this diagnosis. But I also just feel extremely lucky that I got the surgery so fast to have the proper diagnosis. I think with the endo journey, you know, to a lot of people it is a really heartbreaking and life-altering diagnosis, and I see and feel the weight of that. But for me personally, I can't help but compare it to my experience with TN, and TN was so isolating and is so uncertain in so many ways that I felt like endometriosis was so much lighter, and I didn't
I had shared advocacy. You know, I have friends that have it.
Yeah.
I have friends who've had the surgeries, who've had it much longer than me. And I have that shared wisdom, and I have never had that in TN.
No.
And so I just feel this like lightness and this like faith that it will be okay.
Yeah.
And do not get me wrong, endometriosis is so underfunded with research and deserves far more.
Agreed.
So yeah, but I think I felt like I was supported in it, and I shouldn't say was, I am supported in it, and it's a shared journey, and it's the advocacy that is the weight of the TN journey that really, really runs me down. So it's somewhat easy.
It's not like a common thing you hear people dealing with day to day, right? So it would have felt quite isolating.
Yes.
Whereas endometriosis, there are so many women suffering with endometriosis, and like you say, very underfunded.
Yeah.
Not researched enough.
No.
Not enough, public help.
No.
In regards to like support groups even. Some women can be crippled with pain on the floor, not being able to get in their cars to go to work, and they have to try and make it work, right?
Yeah.
So very, very underfunded, undervalued. And so having to deal with that and TN. So we've had to manipulate a little bit of like, when we train, for example, often a question I'll ask you when you walk in is, so where are you at in your cycle?
Yes.
Because we have to use that as an indication as to how much energy we're able to use, how we're able to train.
Yes.
Now for you, having endometriosis, how has the training changed for you, and how do you find managing still exercising and doing what you can when you can with endo? And I know every month's different, but how has it been for you?
Well, look, I'm just proud that I don't feel devastated, to be honest, because practically I have had to have so much more rest days and so much more time off training than I foresaw for this year. Yeah. That, past me would have been so gutted that I would have seen it as steps back. And probably wanting to give up rather than continuing, right? Let's just acknowledge that, like, that in itself is huge. So huge. Absolutely. And that comes from the way we train. Yeah. Because we always are able to find this beautiful balance between being, like, shaping the workout based on where my energy is at, where my pain levels are at, but also finding the right motivation, and I don't think motivation's the right word. It's the level of push. Yeah. The level of let's go hard. Where's our intensity what today? What is that hard? Yeah. What is, and that intensity could be one day easy 15 kg on a bent over row, and then smashing some deadlifts. And then the next day the next session, which is 2 days later, cannot do half or a quarter of that. Yeah. And I have never ever felt any shame around that. In the beginning I did, it was so hard to learn because you had this okay. Yeah, and you would have had this expectation on yourself naturally, probably not your fault, of shit, okay, I'm going into this studio, I'm training, I have to really make sure I'm doing my best, so I have to get the most out of the time that I'm here, and I have to make sure I do everything that's in the program, you know what I mean? Yeah. But that's something that's massively changed for you too, which it's great for the mindset. Massive. Because you don't have to go all in. Yeah. You can just do what you can. Yes. And that's going to help you so much. I think this whole journey working with you has been so much more than physical. Yeah. So much more. It is showing up for myself, even in that hardest time. Yeah. It's knowing that even these most imperfect sessions are working me towards such a better quality of life. Totally. And I can now, the translation of that into other aspects of my life has been so transformative, because I have come out of this imperfect, or the feeling that I had to catch up because I'm 32. I've lost 3 years of really important career time, so this pressure I had on myself was massive, and I can translate this imperfect showing up, and that it still brings you to progress, the organic reaching of my goal to get into the surf again. Like, I did not see that coming as quick as it did, because I wasn't focused on the outcome.
No.
I was just focused on showing up and just continuing to progress whatever pace I could.
Absolutely. And that is something you can use for everything
Oh
in
my
life.
gosh. So, yeah.
Creating a business,
Absolutely.
starting your photography,
Yes.
like everything in life, because if we put this massive pressure on things to like get done and be done by a certain time, and we're so attached to it, 9 times out of 10 it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
The universe is like, hell nah. There's too much going on here. You need to chill out, take a step back, and just surrender and do what you can.
Yeah, that's right. And it isn't, you know, it is a mindset, but it's also how a mindset helps you to regulate your system, you know, because I am so susceptible to going into fight or flight with my fear of this illness, with fear of overdoing it, and to use it to really go, you know, it's not just about imperfection and like imperfect action. It's actually like being able to know that soft progress is progress.
Yeah.
And when I feel that feeling of remembering that, my whole body can relax, and it's such a gentle and like important somatic experience in that.
And then things will slowly unfold as they should, and as they will.
Yeah.
And you'll come out the other side of, you know, the next stage in your life, right? Of your creation phase, I'm going to call it, because it is a creation phase, your next phase. You're going to come out the other side not feeling burnt out because you haven't literally run yourself into the ground to get there. Yeah. Mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Yes. You're
slowly working on that stuff now, and it's just all unfolding naturally for you, which is so exciting.
Massively. And this year is, you know, a really cool example of things going a way I could never have foreseen.
No.
And certain dreams that I've always had that I just didn't think would ever sort of happen, have come to the foreground. You know, my partner's built my dark room for me, and I went on a road trip in March that, you know, I left you for a month to go and show my friend from America around the South Island, and
so cool.
Use the physical fitness that you and I had worked so hard for over that September to summer period, and like I just got to do the things that I love.
Absolutely.
Again.
So naturally too, right?
Yes. And I hiked Tongariro, and I, you know, drove all over the west coast and hiked up so many mountains. And yes, I did have a flare up, but that was a lesson in exertion around camping and mental exertion, because people do not acknowledge the mental exertion of a road trip.
Oh my god. I would get so I would probably have fits of like anger in the car, because I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. Oh, where am I going? Oh, this map GPS is not working, and you just like, it's a lot.
Yeah, and I am a complete nerd about being a tour guide. I'm so passionate about people's connection to land and history and cultural history and nature. Like, my friend that I was showing around was just like, how do you know these things about trees and birds and soils and rocks? I'm like, I don't know. I just am so curious that I have thought to go, wow, that's so amazing, and like, how is something that way? And I go and look it up, and
I love that.
You know, add in the fact that my background is in geography, human geography and sociology, so I am fascinated by people and our connection to our land and our society, and how it's shaped, and how what we build shapes us, and we obviously shape what we build. So it's just this, I can easily get very over enthusiastic.
I love it.
And use my, you know, my spiritual energy, my mental energy, my physical energy, my intellectual energy, my social energy. And we do not realize when we talk about rest in society, often it's only acknowledged as physical rest. Yeah. But that is only one of the many pieces.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I feel like we're living in a society where you have to earn rest. You have to be exhausted to be able to lie on the couch and do nothing. You have to be exhausted to take a weekend away and just be at the beach and do bugger all. Yes. You have to be... Rest is your birthright. Yeah. It is not something you have to earn. Yeah. Which goes like
Internalized capitalism.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah.
It totally is. We live in this fucked up hustle culture, and for women, it's doing nothing but creating more issues for our health and our well-being.
Yeah, and I really see so many of the lessons I have had to take through my illness. I'm feeling really passionate about sharing them with just our people in our society in general, because chronic stress is equally as debilitating. Well, not equally, maybe it's TN, but in its lifestyle impacts, it's harder to see than maybe something as extreme as TN, but all the lessons in pacing and rest that I have had to learn, I think, are so applicable to everyday life with people with chronic stress. And in this society, I feel like so many of us are in that state because of the pressure to keep on going.
Absolutely, to keep up with the Joneses, classic saying, but it's true. To try and be everything before 30, to try and be everything before retirement, to try and just be better than that person and this person, and it's like, all for what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel you're so right. Like, there are a lot of lessons people can learn from everything you've been through, about having to learn to actually surrender, let go, pace yourself, and just like actively rest by not having to be on the go all the time. And I mean, obviously that is a trigger for the TN, right? So someone like yourself has to be really mindful about how much stress your body's under. Imagine, I mean, I actually think that stress manifests into so many things in people's health and bodies, and that could be significant weight gain. That could be PCOS. That could even be a contributing factor to endometriosis. Could be a contributing factor to cancers, all sorts of things, right? That we see in our society now. A lot of it generally comes from the culture that we currently are in today.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't help when you've already got an underlying issue like TN.
Yeah, there's some really fascinating, like, look, I'm a nerd, so even though I've been ill, there's some really fascinating fields of academia that I've got into.
I love that. Tell me more.
In my good weeks, and when I have that mental clarity, I use my friend's uni login to go to the academic research. And there's fields of like psychosocial immunology, which is so fascinating. And there is like really beautiful dedicated fields to the overlap of the psychological, the social, and the environmental, like immune, I want to say immunology, but like immunity and our health, our biophysical health. Yeah. And it's so fascinating.
Oh, I can imagine. But it's like,
we already know it. Yeah. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I intuitively feel when the connection between my health and maybe the inflammation that I have and the exertion that I've done and the environment that I'm in. Yeah. I can see where certain things have happened because of certain things that maybe it's not like a black and white, easy to explain through my neurologist, but I can see it. And yeah, I mean, yes, it's cool, it's in academia, but I think that is actually the essence of holistic health.
Absolutely.
It's not just about herbs and herbology.
I know, and that's and that's something I think people get confused about with holistic health. Holistic health is not, like you say, herbs and spices and, you know, going vegan. Yeah. Like, being holistic is looking at your health from all avenues. Yeah. Environmental is huge. Yeah. You know, like, environmental is the home you live in, the job you have, the city you're in.
Yeah, the neighborhood.
You know, the neighborhood.
The city level,
absolutely.
The country level, policy, and
everything.
All of that. Yes.
That can affect your health massively. Then you've obviously got the physical side of things. Mm-hmm. You've got the emotional side of things, the spiritual side of things, which is like, doesn't just have to be, you know, Christianity. It can be simple things like self-gratitude and self-belief. Yeah. You know, and so...
And the feeling of connection to land. Like absolutely. Just looking outside of a blade of grass and being like, wow,
look at that.
That's an amazing living thing. I'm living, that's living.
Yeah,
wow,
exactly.
We're connected.
I love that. No, it's so
that
true.
That is spirituality.
It is. And I think if we start looking at health a little bit more holistically in general, I think we're going to have a hell of a lot more healthy, happier people walking around this world.
Yes, totally.
So, to sum up your journey, what do you think is an important thing that you can tell our listeners that are going through something, maybe not as severe as what you're going through, but if we're going through things with their health, what is one thing or some things that you could say to them to encourage them to keep going or to start?
I think imperfect action is something that's said, you know, quite often.
Yeah.
It seems a bit cliche, but like there is so much power in that. And I think even the word action has so many connotations around it about this, like this really fear-mongered motivation, and I don't think that is what I'm trying to get across. It's like, let yourself just try and be a little bit better than the last time you tried. And that is actually really, really that is success.
Yeah.
But it's not given that kudos.
No.
But give it that kudos and see how much your life can transform.
Absolutely.
You know, and pair that with pacing, which I am very passionate about now. But you know, pacing is something we don't talk about in able-bodied spaces. But you know, I'm really well connected now with neurological disorders, and multiple sclerosis is one of those, and like in a community of people that have these conditions, and they're outdoors people.
Yeah.
And it's such a fascinating place because, you know, they are so driven to do quite extreme sports, but they've got quite extreme conditions, and so to learn how to be in the middle is so clear and obvious in this group of people that I think is applicable outside to everyone. But that is, pacing really is a massive thing, and part of that pacing is recognizing what rest really is.
Yeah.
And there are multiple types of rest, like I said, the creative, the intellectual, the social, the physical, obviously, the spiritual, and there's one more that I'm forgetting, but you know, just seeing like learning what those rests are for yourself is so key, and remembering that rest isn't just stopping, it's actually learning to relax. Feeling release.
Absolutely.
Rest and release.
Absolutely.
And and you know, when you have that paired with an understanding of what pacing is, and pacing is different for everybody, because pacing means to work within your boundaries and recognizing your capacity and seeing your spaces for a little bit of stretch without too much stress, and then retreat and rest, and then letting yourself do that again. But pacing means you're not going through that boom and bust burnout period again and again, and just learning how to make a lifestyle that doesn't go through boom and bust.
Absolutely. And that is,
boy, is it good.
Oh, I agree. Like, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more with the pacing side of things. Something I've personally done a lot for myself this year as well is really like cut the load and just maintained at a pace that actually feels manageable. And it's fantastic. And I don't care if I'm, you know, not like making $1 million or whatever. Who gives a fuck right now? What matters right now is health and being able to do the things I love.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think
how much faster do things actually happen
when you let go of all that stuff.
When you let go of it.
Absolutely. You know, and I think that's massive when it comes when we master that thought and feeling about our health, everything just falls into place magically. Yeah. And it's just such a beautiful message. So I hope everyone has received that message from today's conversation. I mean, it's been so empowering just to hear your story. And I mean, I know a lot about your story, but I think it's so cool to be able to share with other people what you've been through and how you're working through it.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm not at the end, right?
No way.
You know, I'm about to go on this 6-week road trip to finish the road trip that I didn't finish in March when I had the flare up and left my car on the South Island to fly home and rest. You know, because you've got to do these things. I had to do these things, and I'm glad I did. But you know, I'm nowhere near the finish, because this condition, you know, is apparently permanent, and I'll take that, but also I'm like, maybe I won't. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, this trip is going to be a good like application of all of these skills that I've learned, and it's the first time I'm going by myself on a road trip. Yeah. So I'm definitely going to be like balancing the draw to be my ambitious, over the top outdoors person again, but also you know, I'm really excited to implement pacing and like this deep respect I have for my body and my capacity now, and see how that looks in application. And also, shooting this photography collection that is essentially going to be the fundraiser that I've never done, because with having an invisible illness, it never felt right to do that sort of GoFundMe or I haven't broken a bone or had a serious car crash or something that's obvious. So I never felt like without sharing a really vulnerable story I could ask for help. And this is actually the first time I think I've publicly shared my story.
Which is huge for you.
And even though I still like haven't gone into the detail of the actual experience of living with it every day, we've talked about it quite like a bigger picture.
Absolutely.
It still feels like a massive step, because I'm coming into this place where I want to share. Because I actually want to rally up some like shared joy about where I'm going now. And look, I'm doing photography. It's like the first time in 10 years I've picked up my film cameras, and I'm gonna like do what I was so nerdy about, and I've always done digital, but to pick up the film again and like do this collection that has been sitting with me this whole 5 years. You know, when I've been bedridden, I've been looking out the window and dreaming about these landscapes, and I'm going to do it. This 5-year dream is just about to happen, and I never saw that coming.
Exciting! And how, especially when you're in the midst of it, right? You probably, as we discussed, you just, it wasn't there. But now look at you, and that's exciting. How cool. So Ronnie's also an artist. She's a woman of many talents, incredible artist, and will be creating a collection of, remind me, how do you explain it?
Mid-century inspired hand-tinted landscapes.
Oh, amazing.
So very nerdy about history, as you all now know. But I will share a bit more about it online as I go. But yes, follow along, please.
Absolutely.
I am,
I'll plug your socials down in the comments section below. So that you can follow along with Ronnie's journey, and just want to say, like, when you start putting so much beautiful effort, that's what I'm going to call it, because it's not been like intense, it's been beautiful effort into your health journey, and you are just consistent with it but patient, look what happens.
I have a term for that beautiful effort you just called.
What's that?
Soft optimism.
Oh, even better.
That's my motto of life
Soft
now.
optimism, and I love that. And that I think that's a thing that especially women need to start adopting more of. And maybe we wouldn't be so like over it all the time if we all just adopted a bit of soft optimism in our lives and how we live our lives. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been so amazing having you here. And I really hope to do another episode with you soon. And I'm so excited for you with your road trip and you going out there and doing your thing. And it's just been so beautiful to be alongside you for the last year on your journey.
My gosh.
A pleasure.
I cannot thank you enough. Like this, I've explained to many people around me that this personal training has been life-changing for me. And for everyone following, Renee has hired me along the way to do photography for her, and it's been so okay for me to turn up imperfectly and just do my best, and it turns out my best is actually really quite fun and quite good still.
Absolutely.
And it gave me the confidence in myself in another way, not just my physical sense. So Renee is like tenfold supportive. You know, what she is doing and what we do together is very holistic. It is the whole body and the whole person experience, and like I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. I appreciate
it. It's been amazing in the studio and out doing our photos.
Absolutely. Just I have to say one more thing before we wrap up. I was in the city on the weekend and I was looking at the textures. And I was with a friend, and you know, we're both like creative people, but not as creative as in depth as you are. And I was like starting to look at the way the walls were textured in such a different light, and I was like, I'm so inspired by you because you just have so much to give, and like just taking photos with you in the city gave me a whole new perspective on the city, not just being the city, but the city, you know what I mean, in such a different light. And I was like talking to my friend about this textured wall, and I was like, and she's like, what, who are you? And I'm like, I've just been around one of my clients a lot, and she's just so inspiring with, and just looks at things in so much more depth, and it's really helped me to see things in a lot more depth. And so, you know,
oh my
yes.
gosh, that means so much.
So even though I've been here to help you, you've also actually in turn really helped me see a lot of the beauty in things a lot more. So thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast and share this episode with anyone who you feel needs to hear Ronnie's story. Thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to a tiny little podcast in a big pond to have your listening ears. I will see you. Well, I won't see you, but I look forward to having you listen in the next podcast.
See ya.